In 1982, Mumia Abu-Jamal was sentenced to die for killing Philadelphia police officer Daniel Faulkner. He's always maintained his innocence as perhaps America's most famous prisoner.
The many problems in Mumia's case plague thousands of cases every day in our court system.
People really don't understand what the climate was in Philadelphia in the years before Mumia was arrested. Because if they did, they would look at his arrest and his trial in a different fashion.
The U.S. Department of Justice filed suit against the city of Philadelphia, its mayor, and other officials, charging they allowed constant brutality in the city police department.
That legacy of police brutality is parallel to an equally ugly legacy of corruption.
A federal grand jury indicted 13 Philadelphia police officers.
One of the biggest cases of police corruption in modern United States.
In Philadelphia today, 7 former policemen were found guilty of corruption.
Shortly after the Jamal case had gone to trial, the federal government prosecuted the police department in Philadelphia for corruption.
15 of the cops who worked on Mumia's investigation went down on FBI convictions.
It was bribery, extortion, manufacturing of evidence to win convictions, all the things that would lead to the kind of faking of evidence that we know went on in the Jamal case.
Pedro Polikoff, a freelance photographer, was one of the first persons at the scene of the crime. His photographs were dismissed by the prosecution.
And there's the guns in the officer's hands. If this photograph was presented in court, they would have dismissed that evidence instantly as contaminated. Apparently, the path that I took to come around the scene to get photos put me right through where a taxi cab was supposed to be, that a witness was in. There's no taxi cab there. There was no cab driver that anybody was talking to. And I walked right past the cruiser in order to take the photograph.
The single most important fact people should know about this case is that there was a 4th person at the crime scene.
And the presence of that person at trial was suppressed by the prosecutor, Joe McGill.
I was standing on the corner of 12th and Locust, just chit-chatting, girl talk, and then we heard gunshots, like, pop, and I looked across the street to my left ankle, and I seen this white person falling. And I kept looking, and I seen these 2 black individuals running away from him. And regardless of what anybody says, I know what I saw. These eyes don't miss too much, not too much.
A few months before Veronica Jones was scheduled to testify in the Abu Jamal trial, she was arrested and jailed on a robbery charge.
I couldn't make the bail. They were telling me how they could work a deal with me. They told me all I had to do was name Mumia as the shooter, Mumia Jamal as the shooter, and that they would make sure that I got off on the 15 years, 5 to 15 years. I was totally confused. I didn't know what to say. I'm looking at a man I've never seen in my life that I'm getting ready to lie on. And I'm looking at these officers that can put me away. So I just thought I'd just say I didn't see anything. Sorry.
And again, this is the intimidation that these people have used on people like Veronica Jones. They're talking about the FOP history, this government history. And again, it points to what liars and bullies these people are.
The blacks from the low-income areas are less likely to convict. And as a result, you don't want those people on your jury.
The elimination of blacks from juries is a problem all over the country. McMahon's tape, unfortunately, detailed a common practice. The experience of black people with police is different. They're much more skeptical of police testimony. So to have blacks on your jury means that they're not going to accept everything that the police officer says just out of hand. And I think whites have a very different experience with police officers in this country.
But when you look at the context of police brutality in Philadelphia, in the context of systemic injustice in Philadelphia, what happened to Mumia happens to so many other people.
And the reason why we are here, really, is because approximately 1 year ago, there was a great discovery in this case. New exculpatory evidence in the case of Mumia Abu Jamal that says and suggests clearly that the main witness was bought off by the cops and by the prosecutor to finger Mumia.
For our family, we've been on hold waiting for Mumia to come home. We expect Mumia to come home.